Hello, my name is Coach Brady Stech. Welcome back to another video. Today we got kind of something a little bit different. I'm going to be talking about my experience as a student coach. Well, let's get right into it. So I guess the first thing I want to talk about is just how we did as a team. So I'm going to kind of recap the season. We went 6-16, which wasn't how we thought the season would go, but it is an improvement from last year. Last year, I think they only won like 2 games, and so it was actually kind of a big improvement. And they definitely improved throughout the year. I noticed. The beginning of the year, the very first game I attended, it was the second game of the season. They'd lost the first. We were down 42-3 at halftime, and it was just kind of an eye-opening experience for me that not every game is going to go your way. And by the end of the season, we were sticking with teams and games, and we were having a good time, But actually, that game, we ended up not getting running clock. 39, which was how much we were down by at halftime, was the most we were down by. And so that was good at least. And we definitely improved throughout the year. The end of the season, it didn't go how we wanted. Obviously, there's only one team that can end on a win. That wasn't us. But it was still a great experience. We didn't really put up the best effort in our final game, but the game before we won, and so at least that was something to be proud of. And so it didn't end how we wanted, but it was still a fun year. So now let's move on to what it was like being a player versus what it was like being a coach. As a player, I got to experience a lot of team success. We lost, like, the most games we lost when I was in high school in one season was 5. And so, it was a very different experience for me being on a team that was 6-16 versus being on a team that was 20-5. And so for me, I got to see kind of both sides, and I think it was a great experience getting to do that. It was also the second year of a co-op. So like a town I'm from and a town nearby, we'd never been together for anything, and this was the second year of that. It's not going to be a thing next year, but it kind of provided some challenges and maybe some team chemistry issues, and there wasn't any huge or major issues, but these guys didn't get to grow up with each other, like you usually have on a high school basketball team. You usually have guys that grew up together. This team didn't really get experience that as much. They got experience playing against each other, but so it was a challenge to see that, but it was also nice to see these two towns come together, especially since we were rivals. So the guys did a very good job of setting their differences aside and going out and playing basketball. Another thing about being a coach versus being a player is I got to help with the scouting report. As a player, I just looked at the scouting report and I'm like, okay, this is a very good scouting report and coach did a good job. As a coach, I actually got to help type it up, help watch film, and even a couple times we used my scouting report primarily because I just had to step in, I guess, and provide the scouting report for the game. And it was nice hearing Coach talk about what I had written down. But it's also kind of nerve-wracking, maybe the guy that I said isn't a good shooter goes out and hits 10 threes. I don't know. You never know. But it was definitely a good experience. Another thing is that the conversations with head coach are different when you're an assistant coach versus being a player. As a player, you're not necessarily scared of coach, but there's a certain level of respect there. As assistant coach, there's still the respect, but you're more up there with him, and you feel like he values your feedback more. I'm sure coach values the feedback of the players just as much as the assistant coaches, but it feels different when you're when you're a player versus when you're a coach. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. And then also the final thing is being vocal is very different on both of these levels. When you're a player, when you're on the court, you're supposed to shout where you are in defense, like you're in gap, you're in help, on ball, and you call out plays and stuff like that. As a coach, it's very different. There's times when maybe the ref makes an obviously bad call, and the head coach just talks to him a little bit. As an assistant student coach, I didn't really have much authority in that, but I got to see things that I hadn't seen as a player. Coach talking to the refs and just different things like that. And so, yeah, being vocal as a player is very different from being vocal as a coach. Let's move on to what the season looked like from my perspective. As a student of a college that is 45 minutes from the school that I was helping, I couldn't attend all the practices. And so every once in a while, I'd go a week without getting to practice. Usually every Friday I would come home and go to the practices, but in between time, I didn't really get to go to the practice. And so I didn't get to see, what coach was cooking up or anything like that. We did keep in contact, but I didn't actually get to visualize it or anything. And so it kind of provided a few challenges, but nothing that I couldn't get over. And I attended every game but two. And those two games were during the middle of the week, and they were further from home than I wanted to go, or further from my college than I wanted to go. 45 minutes an hour. So yeah, I got to attend a lot of games actually, which I was surprised by. At the beginning of the year, I wasn't sure how many games I'd be able to attend, and I got to attend 20 games. And so that was really good. Another thing is I saw the team develop, but I also saw myself develop. Like I mentioned earlier, I helped with scouting report. At the beginning of the year, my scouting report was very different from my scouting report at the end of the year. At the beginning of the year, I just kind of wrote down some notes and everything. And at the end of the year, I was going player by player, looking at stats, going deep into everything. And it was very fun to get to do that and to see myself develop like that. And also, I'm not the best public speaker. I'm terrified of it actually, like many people are. But I got to see myself kind of step into a role of talking to the players more, like after games, before games, whatever. And that was nice to see that I could actually I could actually do that. And I mentioned earlier that it's a co-op between two towns. It made it very different than when I played. When I played, it was always the first game of the year we played this team, and it was always a good matchup, rivalry, you'd say. And so it was very different from my perspective from when I was a player to when I was a coach this past year. I had to learn the other guys' names from the other town. I had no idea what their names were when I first got there, and so yeah, and it was fun to see the relationships develop with those guys over the course of the season. So finally, let's talk about what my future plans are. I don't really have any plans right now, at least coaching wise. I guess making videos here on YouTube is one of the big ones, and I'm not really sure in the off season, in the summer, how many videos I'll make. I probably won't be able to upload weekly. For one, lack of content. I know there's not a lot of content, but for me to make a video each week, it can get to be a lot. And then two, just the fact that a lot of the plays that I drop, I prefer for them to be closer to the season, so that anyone that sees the video can kind of start to maybe use it, visualize it in practice or whatever. And so for me personally, I don't know how often I'll upload. And also my plans, yeah, I don't know. I'd love to coach more, whether that's baseball, basketball, whatever. I'd love to assist in that, or maybe even be head coach someday. But right now I don't have any plans. Yeah, I guess that's all I have right now. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed hearing my experience as student coach. Maybe this helps you if you're considering doing it. I guess something I should mention finally is that I am not a coaching major or sports manager or anything. I'm a business management major, and so for me, this is just kind of something that I really, really wanted to do since I was a kid. I've always wanted to be a coach, and I decided one day that, well, let me just ask, if he doesn't have anything, worst he can say is no. So I asked the head coach, who was an assistant coach when I played, and we weren't sure what kind of role I was going to have at the beginning of the year, but it was definitely a bigger role than we had both thought, and so that was good. And so I guess just even if you're not a coaching major or anything, you can still do this. In fact, the head coach, he didn't go to college. His family has a business. He joined that business, and he loves coaching, and so he pursued that, and eventually he worked his way up to the head coaching job at my school. And so it's great to see that you don't have to be a coaching major to be a coach. And so I guess that's just one of the big things I can tell you is that go do it. If you're wanting to do something, do it. I mean, there's definitely a lot of things that hold you back. Trust me, I know. But if you do it, you'll love yourself by the end of it. At the beginning of the year, I wasn't very sure. I was questioning myself for sure. But at the end of the season, I felt like I was part of the team. And so go be a student coach. Go get that experience. If you don't like it, then you don't have to pursue coaching. That's the beautiful thing about it. And so I guess that's all I have for today. Thank you for watching. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe. Do whatever you can to support the channel. And yeah, I'll see you next time.